I hope you guys are doing well. Hey, we've got a big show for you tonight. Episode 30. The Big 30, the Dirty 30, episode 30. It's not enough to not be corrupt. What a good line. What a good line.
Is it just me, or does Jeff look kind of drunk in that picture?
That's kind of a thing. It's a kind of a thing. I think it's because he's a redhead. I think
you're going to blame the ginger for his coloring, that he looks slightly drunk.
I think, yeah. Hey, he might have took it to a little bit. I don't know. I didn't smell his breath or anything, but
it's an unfortunate picture that you chose. That's all.
Yeah. It's only the I can't help what my subjects look like. It's them.
See, it's pictures like that remind me why I avoid cameras whenever possible.
Right. It's all their fault. Because they are the ones that are looking the way they do when they get taken like that. So yeah, that is a rather unfortunate photo. I just got sick of using the regular photos that I've been using of these people over and over. So I decided to use that. There was actually a really good picture of, matter of fact, if my mouse will work with me here, I'm trying to get it up here right now for you guys to see. Give me just 1 second. I'm trying to get her on here. Let's see here. Both. Yeah, right here. There's actually a really good picture of both candidates and taken, and I was going to actually I was going to contact the photographer of this picture and ask if I could use it in tonight's thumbnail, but I was not able to contact him ahead of time. And so I wasn't able to find out if I could use it, but I do have the picture here, and I'm giving credit to the photographer, and it's none other than pulling the banner off. We'll be able to see see the credit I gave him. The banner here, the photo is by Rick Yinzer, and he took this picture of the candidates before the event. I guess this is before. It's either before or after. But Rick took this picture of the candidates ahead of the debate last night, and I thought that this was a pretty good. Picture here of both of them. They were having a pleasant discussion, and both men seemed to be jovial, so I'm always interested in pictures like this, and when we see candidates that get together, it's really strange to me because they have Jeff and Dan have a very tense relationship. Both of these men have a very tense relationship, and it's a weird relationship because Jeff's not that way. Jeff will talk to anybody, and Dan is. Listen, I'm 100% convinced that Dan is an introvert. Dan does not like talking with people. Dan does not like communicating. I feel like there are days he goes home and he's like, oh, too much peopling. I'm over peopling. And I honestly, honestly, I'm going to say that I feel that is a lot of what the problem with Dan has been. I feel like Dan would be probably a better mayor if it wasn't for the people. If it wasn't for the public, Dan would probably be better. So, I don't know. And I mean, I think that's something that candidates need to take in consideration. That's why I always tell people on here when I ask people for to get involved and I talk about people doing this kind of stuff. I always say, I understand that, running for office is not everybody's thing, that not everybody's going to be able to do that. I understand that, not everybody's going to be able to get on YouTube and make videos. Maybe not everybody's going to be able to go to meetings. So, maybe if you can make a phone call or you can make an email or whatever, you got to kind of play to your strengths. And I kind of feel like Dan's strength is not communication. Dan's strength is not the public. Dan's strength is not having to talk to a lot of people and get approval of things. And I feel like maybe if he would have not pushed himself into the role of mayor, that he obviously would probably have been doing better in life at this point. I don't know. We'll never know. The problem with that, though, Joey, maybe they understand that it's their best, that's their professional capacity to do their best to keep it separate. It's not, first of all, it's not Jeff's fault that it's separate. I know that the Lindsay, Corey, Bory, Finks, and all those people are going to blame all of this on Jeff. And while Jeff can, there's certainly things I can say about Jeff here or there or whatever. And I'm not saying that Jeff is the angel from on high and that we should all, bow down and worship him. I am going to say that Dan is the executive officer. He's the executive, he's the mayor. And a lot of the issues that we have had over the last 4 years have come from the fact that the mayor will not tell the council things that he is doing. He's will keep them in the dark. It's just like the gun violence thing, the task force that they created on the gun violence. This gun violence task force that they created, Dan does this. He doesn't have anybody from the council appear on this task force. He doesn't have anyone know about it. I'm not 100% on this, but it's my belief that no one from the council knew about the task force until it appeared in the paper, until there was the press release about it. Okay? What do we keep hearing? We keep hearing this. The council didn't find out about the negotiations on the police and the fire contracts until the press release. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing. Yes, Dan is very afraid of conflict. That's another thing that, in my opinion, has led to some of the half-truths, mistruths, lies, if you will, because it's almost like he tells whoever he's around whatever they want to know. Well, when you're meeting, when you're meeting in private, that's the other issue is Dan likes to do a lot of things, behind closed doors and doesn't want people to know until everything is decided. No peopling allowed by order of the king. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah, Yeah. That's hilarious. No, we don't. There's nothing more on the shooting. They've not released anything more on that. I'm sure. I doubt we will hear more on it. Honestly, if the truth be told, I doubt that we will hear anything until the two men that are arrested goes to trial. Honestly. Hello there, Danny. Welcome. So, ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have it's not enough to not be corrupt. And that is, of course, a line that Jeff Robinson said last night. And I want to say it's a damn good line, and it's probably a line. I've said things similar to that before, but I will use that Robinson line from here on out and say it a lot of different ways, a lot of different times, to a lot of different people. Can we do the let's get ready to rumble? Absolutely. So we're gonna be looking at this event from last night, and I've got to say, I don't understand what's going on with both of these candidates. First, before we get started, I want to say this. Number one, people assume that because I have been critical of Ridenhour over the last 4 years, that immediately means that I am in Jeff Robinson's camp. I want him to win. That's all that I care about. Go Ra, yay Ra, Jeff. All right. I will admit that I have absolutely, for the last couple of years, said I want Jeff to run. I want Jeff to run against Dan. It made the most sense. And I was pushing for that. Because we are here, though, I am not just in Team Robinson's camp. I want to be won over like all of the rest of the voters. I want to hear what these, plans are. I want to hear about the projects that these both candidates have. I am going to formally tomorrow, I will be asking formally in written correspondence both of these candidates to appear on an interview, a live interview with me. And the interview style this year that I interview with anyone is going to be a little bit different. I don't want it to be the same canned, I'm going to ask some questions and this is what's going to happen. I want it to be a conversational style of a get together. And it's not going to be hours long. It's not going to be for the entire show, because right now, I'll be honest, there's just too much going on. Every single episode could be 3 hours long, and I could talk about 4 or 5 different things in every episode, and I still feel like there's not enough time to get to what all needs to be said. So it's going to be, all the interviews are going to be roughly 20 to 30 minutes long. We're going to do them all at the beginning of the show. We're going to do that. Then we're going to move on to the rest of the topics that might be discussed that night. And then at the end of the show, I will be able to edit that 20 minutes off, and those people can then have that 20 minutes and they can use that, or I'll put that up. So the whole live show from start to finish will be up, but then there will be a 20-second or 20-minute little blurb of just that people can watch as well. So we will be able to do that. So that's that. I will be asking them formally. I've talked to various people and said different things, but I will be putting it in writing. So we'll see. Both of them will be given a fair shake. Even though I've had issues with Dan, I'm still willing to hear what he has to say, even though I have backed Jeff. I'm still going to be critical. I was at the press conference on Tuesday, and I liked a lot of what Jeff said, and then I got to doing some of the math, and I got to be honest. Hearing that we're going to be borrowing a $25 million. Listen, nobody wants roads paved in Muncie more than I do lots of driving. I do lots and lots and lots of driving, north and south and east and west and in and out and around. I know it. I know how bad the roads are in Muncie. $25 million bond paid back over 20 years at $1.9 million a year. Interest rate. I mean, man, we're talking about nearly $40 million at the end of the 20 years, 38 million, probably a little more. I have questions about this. I have questions about the proposal that I want Jeff to be able to explain to all of us. And maybe there's something in there that's like, oh yeah, this makes sense. That's why it's the interviews are important. It's not just for me. It's for you guys. It's for the voters that get to hear that. So we're going to be talking to as many of them as they will choose. I also am really excited. And for the first time, I'm going to be asking the mayoral candidates in Newcastle to interview, because there's a candidate in Newcastle right now that is saying wildly crazy things. And I'd love to have him on and get to, get to figuring out why he's saying the things that he's saying and find out exactly, how he plans to do what he's planning on doing. So it's crazy. I also, I'm very critical. I'm very critical of both. Absolutely. Because I've been in the spot where I have supported somebody. Dan is one of those people. I've been supportive of Dan. He got in and immediately flopped the other way. I was like, wait, what is this? I'm critical of Audie, it is what it is. The other thing I'm going to bring up real quick before we start this event, I listened to the Board of Works meeting, and we normally go over the Board of Works each week, and we listen to what they said. Nothing really went on. I have looked through the claims again this week, and there are no claims for the old YMCA, so I'm not going to spend time going through that. We're not going to actually go through the meeting, the Board of Works meeting, because there wasn't a lot going on. However, there was one aspect that I thought was interesting. Zane Bishop brought up an issue to the Board of Works that Audie Barber brought up Monday night at the council meeting. And he's talking about the new project where they're building the Y down between Muncie Central School and the field house. And he talked about how the sidewalk, the bike lane, the Arts Walk trail, it's all been covered by fencing. And Zane Bishop basically said that this is a key route, obviously downtown, from downtown to Minnetrista. It's a key route from Central to Mitts bus station. So from the high school to the bus station, or from the bus station to the high school. It's obviously part of the Muncie Arts and Cultural Trail. And Zane Bishop said that a detour has been listed. That said, the detour is not accessible to bikes, to large groups of people. It's accessible like single file, so you can't be walking 2 or 3 a line in there. And it's not accessible for those who might have wheelchairs or other issues where they would need like handicap accessible ramps and things. And so this is a really bad project. The other issue, the project of how they've ran this. The other issue is this closure was not brought before the Board of Works like closures need to be. And so they admitted that this was not brought before the Board of Works. Now, I don't know why it wouldn't have been brought before the Board of Works. That's absolutely stupid, because the Board of Works would have approved it. They would approve anything because this is something that Dan has wanted. So the fact that they didn't bring it before the Board of Works is just a stupid oversight. The problem is the Ridenour administration has many of these oversights. And you've got to think, people, all of these issues that we see from Dan Ridenour, all of the issues that we've had, these are all the things that we know. What about the things that we don't know? What about the things that are going on that I haven't found out, that somebody hasn't let me know about, that some record request hasn't tipped me off to, that one of my little birdies up at City Hall hasn't found out about and hasn't sang into my ear? What if there are those things? Because I guarantee you, if all of the things that we gripe about and that we talk about and that we bring forward, if all of these things are going on, there are things that we don't know, smaller and larger. So I just want to let people know that. I mean, this is a stupid oversight. Take it to the Board of Works and have them approve it. But I do want to mention that Audie Barber was the first to bring this up Monday night. And what Audie said was basically in line with what Zane Bishop said. Now, I am hearing that what they're saying is Audie followed up with Counselor Aaron Clark, who said he would look into it. Aaron did look into it, and he told Audie that they're going to start tearing out that sidewalk like next week. That's the reason they have it covered over. So they're going to do work there. That's fine. However, the city engineer, the city of Muncie needs to provide an adequate detour for everyone that might need it. They can't just say, well, we're doing work here, so screw you. Toss off everybody that's in a wheelchair, everybody that's blind, that's walking down the road that needs, that their stick or whatnot, or has a service animal. Screw you, little kids walking to school in the dark. No, they can't say that. They've got to offer an adequate detour. They must do the work for the people. And that's the problem for Dan Ridenour. And I want to say this. The last thing that I'm going to say, and then we're going to get started. Rick Yinser, man, one of these days, and I don't know, I could see Rick Yinser saying, nah, I'd rather not do it. I don't know. But one of these days, if he will do it, if he will so do this, I would love to have him on. I would like to have Rick come on for like the entire hour and a half and talk with us. Hell, 20 minutes, something like that. Rick is such an interesting individual. And for all of the things that people have to say about him or all this, or, living he's lived a life, but he also knows figures and politics like none other. And he's a lifelong reporter. I want to read you what he wrote. It's a tale of two politicians. A forum offered voters the difference between Republican Mayor Dan Ridenour and Democratic challenger Jeff Robinson, who is president of the Muncie City Council. The two talked to each other Wednesday, unlike how they work as executive and legislative branch government. That gathering, organized by the local League of Women Voters and Chamber of Commerce, along with others, brought everyone together as Robinson and Ridenour both pledged to make a better community. Rapid-fire questions from Ball State professor on economy, government, drug crisis, gun violence, and education defined what made the candidates stand apart. Ridenour, who also directs the redevelopment for the city, talked about attracting investment and people to town, like when he and his wife came to Muncie. Robinson, on the other hand, grew up in Muncie and said government has to take care of its people and infrastructure before it can grow. With Robinson's background in nonprofit groups like Schaefer Leadership and Ridenauer working in the banking industry, the difference between people and money was apparent. The mayor inherited a government in 2020 that was in debt, dysfunctional, and corrupt. As he said, the former officials were convicted for their theft and fraud, while some police officers were found guilty of abuse and misconduct. It took time to refund the government, besides bringing a police department back to full manpower that also was plagued by many retirements. Robinson made it clear that the party that represented the last administration was not the same as today's Democratic Party, and that it is united with new leadership. The main issue in the city election is infrastructure. Robinson said, basing that by knocking on thousands of voters' doors. Robinson said that the main issue of the city's election was infrastructure. He's basing that on knocking on thousands of voters' doors. The council president rolled out a new street paving sidewalk building plan this week, costing $25 million and funded by present taxes. The mayor bought equipment and trained crews to repave neighborhood streets that save tax dollars. And he agreed recently to take over Indiana 32 through the city after the state repairs it. Gun violence and the drug crisis also were discussed as overdose deaths rise, and a summer block party killed one and injured many. Robinson said that addiction was a disease and more had to be done to help prevent overdose deaths. The mayor reported that a new crisis center run by IU Health in South Muncie will open in the spring of 2024, although very little to any work is being done on the building. That's my part I added in there. A task force on gun violence was recently formed by Ridenauer to address recent shootings. Robinson said youth groups should also be added. While Robinson said he was not included in the group, council was also left out of contract talks with public safety by the mayor that violates city code. Ridenauer proposed $5,000 raises for police officers and firefighters. That amounts to 10% over current pay. That is still subject to council action. There's also been talk of raising local income taxes, given county government is facing a cash shortfall. Only city council can raise income taxes, whether for public safety, economic development, or general spending. Any decision on that will come next year after the city election. The mayor's forum on Wednesday never addressed taxes outside of spending means on economic development or public safety. And that was authored by Rick Yenser, newsman, author, and outlaw. So, yeah, I think that's very interesting. A very, very interesting take on this by Mr. Yenser. And I want to now go to this where you guys will be able to hear from the candidates yourself, and we will be able to hear what they've got to say, and you guys, we'll talk about that as well. Let me get this shared here. Aaron Clark, city councilor, was going to stop by the YMCA contractor being trailer. Yeah, I don't know, Jackie, if you heard me say or not. He did do that, and he got back with Audie, and he told Audie that the reason that was covered up like that was because they're getting ready to tear out those sidewalks in the next couple coming weeks. The problem I have with that is, okay, that's fine. The administration, the city engineer, the street department, the construction crew, somebody needs to set up a better detour than what we currently have. They can't be like, well, we're going to do some work here, so screw the people involved, everybody else. They have to, do what they can do to make it something that people can actually use. Man, where is the volume on that? I am not going to be able to do it that loud. That is insane. Holy crap. Please clean your glasses. Get out of here. Okay, here we go. We're going to take this to back this out here real quick. Okay, here we go.
For closing statements, and I will make brief closing statements once we are all finished and wrapped up here. We do ask that you hold your reactions during the forum and hold your applause, except for now when we greet the candidates. So please go ahead and give them a warm
Again, WMUN radio coverage live from Muncie Central High School. The voice is Chad Kinsella. He is the moderator for tonight's Muncie mayor debate.
And we had that, so anyway, there's no political, I guess from my point of view, maybe it's politically correct, maybe from yours it's flipped, but anyway, trying it, see why I'm not in comedy. Do academics. Anyway, so introductions, I'll go ahead and start with Jeff Robinson. So Jeff Robinson is a Muncie native and alumnus of Ball State University. He spent nearly his entire career working for nonprofit organizations in service to the community, currently holding the role of development director for Schaefer Leadership Academy. His eagerness to work with everyone, no matter their political affiliation, and his ability to find compromise and consensus got him elected by a Republican majority city council to be president in 2021, a position he still holds for the third consecutive year. Council President Robinson has also served as Finance Committee Chair and Chair of the Council Land and Traffic Committee. Dan Reitnauer has the privilege of serving as the mayor of Muncie since being elected in 2019. Reitnauer previously served 4 years on the Muncie City Council. Professionally, he comes from 30 years in the banking and finance field, where he served as the regional manager for 3 different institutions over his career. Mayor Reitnauer is active in the community, a volunteer for many organizations ranging from helping low-income seniors with home repairs to preparing students for kindergarten in Muncie community schools. Dan and his wife Sherry have 4 children and 4 grandchildren. So again, happy to have them. With that in mind, we will go ahead and so we'll start on the far left, and then hopefully I don't mess up the rotation. You all have to keep me honest. We'll go ahead with Jeff Robinson, and did they fit? I think they did.
What?
Yeah, well, thank you, Dr. Kinsella, for moderating this evening. I also want to thank the League of Women Voters, the Greater Muncie Chamber of Commerce, Ball State's Bowen Center for Public Affairs, and WMUN for sponsoring this event this evening. But most importantly, I want to thank each of you for being here tonight. You know, voting in a municipal election is one of the most important elections that you can vote in. Tonight, you know, voting in a municipal election is one of the most important elections that you can vote in. So I thank you for your interest, and I hope you'll vote this November. It's quite simple why I'm running for mayor. I've become very frustrated. It's the same reason I became involved in 2019 when I ran for city council the first time.
I would have had you there.
I'm tired of seeing folks lead in the best interests of themselves and not in the community. You know, every year we spend millions of dollars trying to lure people to our community while we overlook the people who choose to live here now. We have to change it. We have to get our priorities straight. Infrastructure, Public safety. We have a drug addiction and mental health crisis in this community that has been going on for a very long time. It is not the priorities to purchase buildings, to be a developer as a city. The priority is to take care of our basic responsibilities. And that's why I've chosen to run for mayor. I want to flip what has been happening for far too long on its face. And I want to begin putting Muncie first. This election isn't about me. It is not about me. This election is about you and about what your priorities are. We've learned infrastructure, public safety, code enforcement. The list goes on of issues that we do very little to address. As we watch our mayors, not just this mayor, but mayors of the past, make decisions that will benefit their own reelection. We have to get our priorities straight, and the time is now.
Mayor Ridenour, go ahead and you can have your 2-minute opening statement.
Good evening, and thank you for being here. My name is Dan Ridenour. For those of you who don't know me, I am married to my wife, Sherry. We've lived here over 20 years. We are one that was recruited here. I have 4 children, 4 grandchildren. We have a dog, we have a cat, and we are homeowners in this community that we love. Professionally, I have had a successful career in private industry. I decided to run for the city council in 2015 because I wanted to give back. Once on the council, I could see that our city was in disarray. There was high debt, each and every year more debt. There was dysfunction, there was corruption, there were investigations, and I decided to run for mayor. As mayor, I feel like I have fixed that challenge and that we are now moving forward in a direction that's very positive, has momentum, has people wanting to be here. I'm very proud of what our team has accomplished. It has not been me, it has been a whole team. I appointed both Republicans and Democrats to my board and to my appointees. And I'm very, very proud of what we've done. We have fixed the finances. We paid back the money that was owed to the state out of the street department. We've put in houses for affordable, for market, and for workforce housing. We have revamped our police department to where we're now fully staffed. And next year, we're even adding 3 more police officers to our budget. I'm very proud of what we've done, but I'm not finished. There is far more to do. There were a lot of things that I had to do to overcome the direction that we were going in the past. And now I'm wanting to move us forward even further. So thank you so much for being here and look forward to tonight's conversation.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm going to go ahead and I've got some questions here and we'll start with Mayor Ridenour and I'm going to try to keep up with that and remember. So starting with the first question, what is your vision for the former Borg Warner site?
Yeah, that's... Hello? Okay. That has been a challenge. It is for sale by the owners of that property. I think they're a little frustrated. And it's I think it's over $1 million still. My vision, we've talked with Yorktown. We have a monthly meeting where we've invited county officials, city officials, and Yorktown officials to work on economic development. That's one that we need to, I believe, even though it's in the city limits, we need to collaborate with Yorktown. So we're in discussions on what some of the options can be, but right now the price is so expensive that getting property control is not an easy thing. And without property control, it's a challenge. I will say that it has some advantages because of the highway to the front, railroad to the back, and it's very expansive. And so I would love to see something there, and we're continuing to work with Yorktown and Delaware County to see that that happens. Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Yeah, well, it's clear we do need a broad coalition of individuals that come to the table to address and assess that property. The mayor mentioned Yorktown. Of course, we need to include Yorktown. It's part of a major gateway into both of our communities. Delaware County government, also East Central Regional Planning District. They've recently received funds to look into and investigate brownfield sites, and certainly the Borg Warner site is one of those. The interesting thing, in 2019, when the Wales Sustainable Products project, of which my opponent voted in favor of, was pushed back on Part of the agreement that the city made at that time was to purchase that property. That is an issue that this mayor has fallen back on. If he had executed that original agreement, we would own it and would have that site control now, and we could begin to be more aggressive in our approach. It's a major gateway. And he is correct. This is a perfect space for any industry with rail behind it and with a highway in front of it.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson, we're going to come right back to you again. So the next question is thinking about walkability of Muncie. Do you have any plans on improving sidewalks and other such walkways in the city of Muncie?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, just yesterday at 3 p.m., I announced my infrastructure plan for the city of Muncie moving forward. It's a bold plan, taking out a $25 million revenue bond, with $20 million going towards 82 lane miles of road, but $5 million is earmarked for sidewalks. Look, we have sidewalks throughout this community, and I've seen them as I walk neighborhoods, canvassing and talking to folks door to door. Sidewalks that are in absolute disrepair.
You guys will be able to see that full press conference this evening. As soon as this program is over, I will be uploading that. I've honestly was waiting because I know that Jeff's team videoed it, and they were like live up close and personal in his face. I did manage to video it very well. The sound is good. You can hear him. It's loud and clear. I literally was waiting for the team to put it up. We're like 3 days out, and they have still not put the video up. So I'm done waiting for them. I'm going to put it up myself, and we'll go from there. I don't know what they're waiting on. If it's the big thing, like, hell, get that out there. Let us all be able to see it. So I will be able to put that up, and you guys will be able to see that here directly.
Some sidewalks, you can't even tell if it's a sidewalk or what used to be a big rock. We have to do better. Additionally, when you consider ADA accessibility, drive down Tillotson Avenue on your way home this evening. Some of those who live that direction, there are telephone poles in the middle of the sidewalk. We have to do better for folks, especially for wheelchair users. How can folks using a wheelchair navigate this city? That is part of our basic responsibility. And again, this speaks to getting our priorities straight and taking care of the folks who choose to live here right now.
Absolutely, a walkable city is important. In fact, my wife and I walk each and every day. And we post some of those pictures on our personal sites because we have such a beautiful city. You know, I will say that we did worked with the federal government to get a grant that allows us to do 226 ADA compliant sidewalk ramps throughout the city in 2021 and 2022. We have more money budgeted for this year. That's something with our own concrete crew that we've created that we will be handling. So we've got some more that will be done this particular year. But in the middle of paving season is not when you want your concrete crew out working. They can do concrete in temperatures below what you can do paving. So we will be out there. We've got some areas picked. I know that Centennial is one of those, and then so because the sidewalks on Centennial are pretty good, but there's no ADA compliant.
All right, that is time. So, Mayor Reitner, we're going to come back to you. So we have, yes, going back and forth a little bit, but anyway, so what are your specific plans regarding blight elimination, especially when it comes to trying to encourage the county to use the land bank to offset tax commissioner certificate sale cycle? So ultimately, what's your, kind of summarizing that maybe a little bit better, what's your plan for tackling blight in the city?
Well, one of the things that we've done in my administration that's been extremely effective is we've taken the properties that were torn down years ago, and we have come up with a way to find a developer who is now currently building 61 rental housing units that will ultimately be homeowner units in challenged neighborhoods throughout our city. 61 of them. They're going up all
in 15 years after, I mean, listen, folks, these guys are both going to be saying things that sound really good. But what we've got to do is we've got to keep our mind on the fact that what these guys are saying is both the very best possible thing that they can say about what they're trying to sell at that time. Then you have to look beyond that to say, wait a minute here. What's reality? All right, Dan is spinning a wonderful tale right now about these, all these homes. keep in mind, folks, there's a lot of these places that are not going to be available to be owned for 15 years. You got to pay on these for 15 years before you can then decide to be able, to be considered to possibly be able to buy this. It's not a purchase now type of a situation. What did that cost the city? Just what's it going to cost the people that's got to do there? Hell, by 15 years, you'd be halfway to owning another home. And what's the deal with Dan's stutter that he keeps doing?
And the problem with rent to own, that's a land contract you're signing. Right. You miss one payment. You've been there for 10 years paying on this thing. You miss a payment because you get laid off from your job, and then you've defaulted on your contract. You've lost 10 years worth of payments on a house, and they chuck you out the street and get round 2 in there. So who's to say that any of these people that are moving in initially will even be able to own the home and make it the 15 years they need to?
Yeah, right.
This is not a path to home ownership. I'm sorry.
Right. All right, let's continue on here.
All over the city. Primarily in South Central, there's 9 going up in the Thomas Park neighborhood, but this is a way to build up our neighborhoods. What we're working at doing is we've continued to demolish roughly 75 a year. In the past, when there was a federal HUD grant, they were able to do a lot more, but we take those, we turn them into a positive for the neighborhoods, and we're very happy for that investment in those 5 neighborhoods that have the 61 houses.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Yeah, so, excuse me, obviously we need to continue with blight elimination. Excuse me. Tearing down dilapidated homes, things like that. But, what we also need to do is we need to identify some of those blighted homes that could potentially be saved. And to the question that we have about the Muncie Land Bank, the Muncie Land Bank, we can convey those properties to the Muncie Land Bank, and the Muncie Land Bank can work with existing nonprofit organizations who are working in that space as it is.
You're
in
right.
Rehabilitating some of those homes and making them livable. Eco Rehab is one of those organizations that comes to mind. Of course, Habitat for Humanity. There are other organizations that are working in that space. So not only do we need to provide an easy pathway for those organizations to own those properties, but we also need to come in with some supplemental funding to help assist in that process, because it builds up our neighborhoods. The infrastructure already exists. Okay, so building up these homes that already exist saves us a tremendous amount of money.
That is done. Thank you. So we're coming right back to you. Catch your breath for a second. Do you have any plans for expanding affordable housing for new and current first-time homebuyers?
Can you repeat that one more time
Sure.
before my time starts?
Sure. Do you have any plans to expand affordable housing for new and current first-time homebuyers? Staying with that.
Well, that's kind of a tricky question, because affordable housing would lend itself to government programs that makes the rent income contingent on those affordable housing. Certainly, we do need to work to advance homeownership in our community. One way we could do that is to provide some assistance in terms of down payments. That's one of the biggest hurdles. And when I was on the ARP nonprofit committee that I steered, we gave money to Pathstone, a local nonprofit organization that did just that. They attracted and spoke to first-time homebuyers, helped them with their down payment, and now they're on track to have 5 first-time homebuyers in the city of Muncie, a program that was paid for through my initiative with nonprofit organizations through the American Rescue Plan. We need to enhance that. Look, homeownership is vitally important, not just in our city, but in our country, and we need to make sure that it is as easily accessible and easily attainable for anyone who wants to do it.
Thank you. Mayor Ridenour?
So this is my background. I've written 3 books on credit scores. I actually helped train some of the people at Pathstone on how to develop the credit. I've worked with first-time homebuyers. And so one of the things that we did early on, Richard and I, the Deputy Mayor Ivy and I, we got together with the banks. We now have 2 programs that are ready to go that are for first-time homebuyers. One of them even allows for income 120% of the AMI. And I will also say we do support each and every year. The city supports Pathstone and the great work that they do to help people get ready for home ownership. I think it's a vital piece of what we should be working on, and we will continue to work on. And so we have some homeowner opportunities, and we've got some programs that 2 of the local banks are ready to make available, and it should be announced very, very soon as there's one other piece that has to happen. But we've coordinated the banks together to come in and invest in our community, and they are all for it. So it's exciting.
Thank you. So
in Muncie Mayor Debate 2023.
do you have any plans on addressing crime in Muncie, including juvenile crime?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things, when I came in, there were 86 police officers on the street. This is what my chief told me. 86 officers. Now, that may sound like a lot, but there's supposed to be 110 in our police department. Now, they had not been, because of morale issues and other challenges in the police department, recruiting had become a challenge for them and very difficult. So they weren't able to increase the number of officers. We have increased the pay for the officers. In our first negotiation, we increased the pay starting in 2024. We're actually increasing the number of officers from 105 to 108 in 2024. We completely revamped all the standard operating procedures of our police department with the help of Chief Sloan, Deputy Chief Melissa Peace. And I will also say that the number of claims, liability claims against police officers has gone from 1.9 million to $55,000. 1.9
See if this is better.
million to $55,000.
Thank you.
Yeah, you know, public safety is an important part of any mayor's responsibilities. So, of course, I plan on addressing crime, you know, especially youth crime.
Good night,
you know,
Alva.
when you look at the issues that we're having, a lot of it is with youth. We have kids carrying guns in our community, which is frightening on a number of levels. You know, the mayor did put together a task force to address the issues after the mass shooting that took place in July. What I didn't notice around the table were some of those youth. We need to have a youth task force that can help address so we can know what the youth are going through.
The last deal there, that's right. Kate shot over in our private chat. You know, what does the reduction in liability cost have to do with crime rate? Well, number one, I guess, you know, I look at it, if your police are beating people they shouldn't be beating, that is crime. It's criminal. It's criminal when the cops are beating people, when they're beating anybody, really, because I don't think anybody deserves to be beat. Well, I guess depends. But when the police officers aren't cracking people's heads for no reason, you know, that is good for a city. But you're right. He just snuck that piece in there to be like, hey, look at me. What I took away from that is there's still a lot of money that they're paying out. They're not paying out like $1 million worth yearly, but they're still paying out too much. If that much issue is still going on in the police department, they need to deal with that. So, you know, that's what I took away from it.
A day. The mayor mentioned, you know, in the contract negotiations, if the council by ordinance had been involved in those contract negotiations, I would have pushed for an opportunity to add more officers. What he failed to mention, in 2020 with the contract negotiations, they actually decreased the amount of minimum staffing for our police officers. It was 110. Now it's 105.
Ooh.
Thank you. Jeff, we're going to come right back to you. So
right,
another question from the audience. What do you feel is the biggest problem facing Muncie right now?
Well, that's a pretty subjective question. What we have found, you know, in my opinion, I think the most pressing issue, the most critical issue that we have is the drug addiction and mental health crisis we have. We've got to get serious about addressing this major issue. The last question about crime. You know, anything we do with the police department is addressing the symptoms, not addressing the disease. And the disease that we have in this community is drug addiction, mental health. We have generational poverty. We have a poverty rate over 30% in this community, second in the state, only behind Gary. The 47302 area code, which is southeast Muncie, has a 10-year less life expectancy than the 47304 area code, and they touch downtown Muncie. We have real issues here, folks, and we have to start addressing them. We have to start addressing them right now.
Thank you, Mayor Ridenour.
We do have a number of issues. But quite frankly, I think the most important thing we need to do is to keep financially stable, because you can't address those issues if you are not financially stable. When I took office in 2019, the accounts were out of balance 3.3 million, and the street department was down 1.9 million. That caused us to not be able, per the state, we were unable to pave any streets in 2020 out of the street department funds. We paid that back because it was the right thing to do. But financial stability is what creates all the answers, because everything that anyone who is in the mayor position wants to do is going to take resources. If you look at how I've done the economic development, we have purposely not put things in TIF districts so that we can increase revenues. And we have a $1.4 million increased general fund revenue this year.
Yeah.
And part of that is because of that economic development. I think the number one issue is having a mayor that understands finances and keeps us good.
That is all the time.
Yeah, this was just a quick point for him to say, look, I've paid the debt off. It's interesting that he says that money's the most important issue. That is very interesting to me. Let's see. Webb says all of these elected officials have no clue of how to relate to anyone with, as both an elected official and both former opiate addict. You might think they would ask me questions about it. Nobody has yet. That's a very interesting, Ryan Webb, and I don't know. I don't know if well, let me ask you just a dumb question. Do they know that? Have you expressed that to them? I think that's very interesting, and I think that you do have a lot of insight, and they should be talking with you. You're very right. People that have not walked in that path, they've got no clue what it would be like. And I do think that you could have a lot to offer Dan or Jeff or anyone else on your council or the commissioners or literally anybody in that area. And I know that you are open about it, but yeah, I do think that is an untapped resource that anyone and everyone is just completely not taking advantage of. That's sad.
So we'll come right back to you again. What steps can be taken to continue to ensure that there is ethical ethics and ethical
this is interesting
behavior in the city and in city departments?
So when I was on the city council, I put forward an ordinance that was voted down at first reading, and it called for an extra step for a certain dollar figure. So currently the law allows a department head to make decisions without any type of second look. It created a second look. It was voted down. When I became mayor, we put that back out in front, and I will admit my opponent here voted for that as well. That is one thing that we've done. The other thing is we've had all department heads attend ethics trainings. We've had employees attend ethic trainings, and we continue to move forward. It's very important. And
What? You've rewound it, man. God. What?
I signed the ethics committee. Commission. I'm looking forward to the time when that gets resolved and we can get it into play. And anything we can do to take the corruption out of our government is a good thing.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson?
Yeah, well, I'm certainly glad my opponent mentioned the Ethics Advisory Council. That was my resolution and a promise that I made in 2019 while running for council. The Ethics Advisory Council will spend the next 12 to 18 months, developing a citywide code of ethics. It's not enough to just have a mayor and department heads who are trustworthy. You know, and look, I'm not going to claim that Dan Ridenour is corrupt. I don't believe he is. Okay, but that's not enough. We can't speak to mayors 20 years from now. This has been a systemic problem in our community for far too long. And I will remind you that it is not just the prior administration. Those of us who grew up in Muncie, those of us who have been around here a long time know that this has been a problem.
Kate, and this is something that Kate had a problem with, and this is something that she hit on, and I don't know that I've heard, I don't know that I've heard anyone else say this. Dan's big thing last night was he was talking about he wanting a second look for department heads for spending over the amount, over X amount. My question is to the mayor, and this is a legitimate question, and if he comes on, I'll ask him, and if he doesn't, I will ask him anyways, and I have no problem putting it out there now. What about a second look for the mayor? What about a second look for the mayor? This mayor has absolutely, time and time again, absolutely went completely around the council. He has done things without going to the Board of Works. He has done things without going to the council. And he shows this over and over and over again that he's willing to do that. And he's okay with doing it because he's got money in the edit account. I just listened to his community update from yesterday morning, and he literally says in the community update, good thing we've got money in the edit fund to be able to do these things. And I'm just thinking, you know, it's okay to not have money in that edit fund and to be able to go to the council and say, we want an appropriation with X, Y, or Z, and the council be able to have a conversation about it, be able to research about such plan, have the public's input, and have the council say it's okay. At the end of the day, hell, I'd even be okay with the Board of Works. Board of Works, that would give anybody a chance. You know, there has to be some kind of oversight. And right now has basically taken that oversight away for the mayor's office. And it's disgusting because, again, that's one more thing that he said. Accountability. I consider that oversight in the accountability. And when he ran on improving communication, transparency, and accountability, that's just one more thing that he has taken away from the citizens or from the council, from the Board of Works, even from the MRC board. And it's nuts to me. Absolutely crazy. You know, and what, yeah, you have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, all to avoid having anyone to get a second look. And when the mayor plans things out like that, we have to look and say, why is he so worried about getting a second look? I want to be very clear. If he could have done that with the Michaels housing development, we would be in a world of hurt right now. If the mayor had a way to do that without the council, he would have, and we would be in a very, very bad situation. Ryan says, Dan is not very transparent and he doesn't work well with others. He wants everyone to leave him alone and do his thing. I wish he was better in those areas. He is good with finances. I think he might be good with finances as a mid-level. I almost question if he's good when he's the man that's dictating where they go. I think sometimes he gets a little too carried away. Jackie says, I attended the mayoral debate. I heard that at 200 plus attended. I noticed that there was a large number of elected officials, department heads, board members, staff, campaign staff, members of the League of Women Voters, Chamber of Commerce. Just curious what percentage of the general public were in attendance. Jackie, that is a great question, because I think I saw you there, and I was just running yesterday like a chicken with my head cut off, or I would have said hi. But I first off noticed that there was a large group of people there. There was more people there than I've ever seen at a debate or a candidate forum than I've seen in another one for years. I was very impressed with the number of people that I saw there. However, you're right. when you minus out the fact that, you know, most of the people were you know, council members, council candidates, plus their wives. And then you've got department heads plus their spouses. Again, it's a very serious question to be asked. How many of those people are actually members of the non-connected public? And that's then kind of leaves you a little sad.
Problem for many, many, many years. We need systems in place that not only oversee elected officials, but also systems in place that can hold appointed department heads accountable. And I'm happy to have sponsored that resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. We're going to come again right back to you. Yeah, no, it's no breaks in this. But anyway, so what are your plans to attract businesses and residents to Muncie?
Yeah, well, and this is where I think my opponent and I fundamentally disagree, because I think we have economic development backwards in this community. I mentioned in my opening statement that we have to put Muncie first. We have to first build a desirable community for folks to live in. When the manufacturers left 25 years ago, it took us 15 years as a community to recognize that they were not going to come back. And by that time, it was too late. So what we've done since then is provide taxpayer dollars for high-end condos. We've provided taxpayer dollars to build high-rise apartment buildings or 4 or 5 level apartment buildings. What we need to be doing is focusing on our roads, our sidewalks. We need to make sure that we're preserving and maintaining the current parks that we have. If we don't make this, if we don't focus as a city government on the basic responsibilities of a city government, we will never attract residents. We're throwing good money after bad. Okay, we have to take care of the basics and make this a desirable place to live.
That is time. Mayor Ridenour, go ahead.
Yeah, we do disagree on this. I think that we have proven, as one of the leaders and the subject of an LA Times article, we have proven people want to move here. They want to move here because we have a good, accepting community. That's why they want to be here. That's why I moved here. The people were friendly. The people were nice. And it has great amenities. Economic development.
Where are those people at?
Economic development is about encouraging people to invest. Now, let me give you an example. We've got a coffee shop that's coming in on Tillotson. It's an out-of-state, it's a chain, but I will tell you, I talked to all 3 coffee shops in town.
Listen to this.
All 3, none of them wanted to expand. One now wants to expand, but wants a certain type of thing and doesn't want to build new. But I did talk to them before. It is important to work with our existing companies, which we're doing, and it's important to work with new companies, as I'm doing.
Thank you. That is time. Coming back to you again. All right. And kind of on the same topic, what should the relationship between the city and local business look like?
Oh, it should be a partnership. It should be, they should be able to ask for guidance, for assistance. Just to give you an example, Chipotle's. We didn't put any money into Chipotle's, but I did help. I helped them work through the zoning variances, which were a challenge. The same thing with Raising Cane's. We didn't put any money into Raising Cane's. Now we're going to benefit by the building being there and the tax revenue, but we didn't put any money into it. But they needed help. In fact, they were here and backed out because the zoning they couldn't get through the zoning variance discussion. They said it's not worth the effort. We talked them back into the effort. We helped them through that process. It's the same thing that we did with oh gosh darn it. Let's see, it was Cane's. Dunkin' Donuts was the other one. We helped them through that. They were struggling, and we talked to them about a second location. They were thrilled to be here.
I thought this was local businesses.
So again, staying with economic development, Or did I?
I need to answer that.
Yeah.
question.
Okay. So got ahead of myself looking at the questions.
Yeah,
Yes.
no
Go ahead.
worries,
Thank
no
you.
worries.
Keep me honest.
Yeah. So, of course, a partnership between city and local businesses was the question is important.
All right,
The examples that my opponent gave were Chipotle, Raising Cane's, and Dunkin' Donuts, none of which are local businesses. In terms of economic development, and this speaks again to my point I made at the opening. We gave $750,000 to one of the top 10 fastest growing software companies in the country. We spent $500,000 to purchase a downtown albatross of a building from a nonprofit organization. Imagine for 1 second if we took that $750,000 and we invested $10,000 into 75 local businesses, or $75,000 to 10 local businesses. What would that do? The multiplier effect speaks volumes. Then the multiplier effect says that 66 cents of every dollar spent at a local business stays local versus a national chain where only 33 cents stays locally.
Thank you. So now, staying on the same subject, and we'll stay with you as well.
Please.
Let's see. What are your plans for continuing to improve downtown?
Well, look, the Together DM plan, the comprehensive Together DM plan really speaks to what we need to be doing, what our next steps are, and that's densification. We need more residences downtown. The current occupancy rate downtown, last I heard, was in the 90%. Okay, so it's clear that the demand is there. So we need to provide opportunities for developers to come in and to provide that infill, that densification. A healthy core of a city is vitally important to that city's economic viability. So we have to continue the path that we've been continuing, and we need to be laser focused and committed to the Together DM plan, which calls for that densification downtown.
Muncie, live from Muncie Central High School.
So I would talk about an existing business that was here when I was mayor. That was Accutech. They wanted to expand. We did provide them $750,000 in reimbursement dollars. And it was reimbursement because they wanted to buy the building next door, which they did on their own dime. We helped them $750,000 with the construction to open up that building and add employees. And you know what the end result was? Year one, last year, they added 46 employees with an average income of over $60-some thousand. Added 46 employees. And that was an existing business, locally owned existing business, I will say. That's the type of thing that we...
Wait, back this up. Hold on here. Let me pull this off screen. Kate, are you here? You said you paid to read the article. Did you find it? Pull up here. What
I
did you
paid
find?
to read the article.
All right. What did it say?
Okay. I will try to read through this fast. What will it take you to leave California for Indiana? Start with $5,000 to $7,000 in relocation cash. If that's not enough, how about free health insurance for a year, unlimited golf club membership, or a seat on this community's nonprofit board? Across the Hoosier State, dozens of counties and cities are actually stepping over one another in what has become the new competition across the land, attracting the pandemic and large horde of people with remote jobs who no longer feel the need to live in more expensive urban centers such as Los Angeles or New York. Some 30 states have gotten into the action. So the first one, they moved to Noblesville, the blah, 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 blah. The next one, they got $5,000 in cash to move. But what was really appealing was Hamilton County's top ranking as a place to raise a family. They have a 3-year-old daughter and a suite of freebies connecting them to the community and leaders. So you keep scrolling down here, and there's finally a bit about Muncie, where it is. In Muncie, a city of 65,000, about an hour's drive north of Indianapolis, so their geography is shit, Mayor Dan Ridenhour said that nearly all 44 individuals who had moved to his town or accepted an offer mentioned the lower cost of living as a prime motivation. After that, he said, they talked about being attracted by the ability to get involved in the community. Muncie's package includes $5,000 in cash and passes to use Ball State University's library and fitness center. The incentives are like a sales ad. I personally feel it's a better return on investment, the mayor said, noting that the battle to lure companies can prove very expensive for cities and often doesn't yield the for payoff. When attracting new residents, Ridenour said, it's more about what they spend locally at groceries, for a haircut, getting their car fixed. It drives spending and jobs. To be eligible for cash and benefits from Muncie, workers have to come from out of state, have an income of at least $50,000 a year, and relocate within 6 months of receiving an offer. Shit.
So, okay. Well, Karen, there the article was. You don't have to pay to read it now, but
I put the link in the chat for everyone.
What kind of article is this? Who was it? It almost sounds like it's something. It's almost like an advert they paid for.
The article is called Rural Towns Lure California's Remote Workers with Cash, Childcare, and Other Relocation Perks. It's written by Dawn Lee, who's a staff writer, with photography by Gary Coronado. So it's, I mean, the pictures in here are, of Noblesville, and, they're pretty scenic pictures and stuff like that. There's Vera Mae's Bistro in downtown Muncie is the picture from Muncie, and a little girl riding her bike on Jackson Street.
In 4 lanes of traffic. Well, I think it's hilarious.
She's on the sidewalk. She's on the sidewalk.
Okay, all right.
But there's a
like Andrew says. Andrew said, I would leave California for the benefit of fleeing California. You don't really have to. The incentive is leaving California. So I just so
80% of citizens don't qualify. What's the median income in Muncie? Do you know? Randolph County, it's 54,000. But when you have, what did Jeff say? 30% poverty rate in Muncie?
Right.
I know that's local people. I understand that. And they're talking about people coming in, but you've got to give $50,000 a year plus a job. So Dan's given 44 families $5,000 in cash.
Yeah.
This is some of his partnership apparently with Ball State.
Yeah.
I don't understand. That's a lot of money for 44 people. It's $220,000?
Yes.
And that's a chunk of change. Yeah, it's a program to draw college educated idiots to Muncie.
You know what I would do, specifically now that.
Thank you, Ryan. 45,000 average household income.
45,000. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
It's
so, now that people are waiting to get married. They're what?
Nothing. They're blocking something.
Oh shit!
It's a spam.
That's on Facebook. That's weird.
Oh,
that normally doesn't happen.
Definitive treatments of.
Yeah. Anyhow, since people are now waiting to get married and waiting to have children later, like a lot of what you ought to do is come here, get the $5,000, stay here for 4 or 5 years, they say, and then move the hell away from here. You know what I mean? Like that's
the article did not say that Muncie was a highly desirable place to move.
Yeah.
It said that Muncie is offering incentives to move to Muncie.
Yeah.
And then comparing it to other cities within the state who are also offering incentives. So it was a bit of it was misleading.
Yes.
How he phrased it.
Yes, Norman, we have too many need here already. Yes. Absolutely. And I don't know. I don't want people here that we've got to buy here. I want people here that are coming here to be here. That's what I always said about Winchester. And I know this is funky because I left Muncie for Winchester, but when I moved
and then
to
left Winchester for Muncie
and then
again.
Who says you can't go home again? Listen to me. When I moved to Winchester and all the people were treating me like shitty in Winchester because I wanted to run for city council and I was wanting to make the community better, I literally said, like, I will die here. I would live here. I love Winchester. I love the community. I love that you can walk outside at 6 o'clock at night and hear the church bells ringing and they play little songs. I like that they have the anchor horn.
I'm good until they start playing Michael Row the Boat Ashore. And it's like 3 houses down from me. So there is no missing that church bell singing that song.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. I love being at your house or at Josh's house, and because you're like right there, it reverberates in your chest. So that's right. The thing I always got though is they were always like, "You're not from here," and I'm like, "No, you know what though? Don't give me that you're better than me because you were born here, because your great grandfather lived here, and your great grandfather was born 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 here, and your grandfather and your dad, you guys were born here. I chose to move here. I wanted to move here. You know what I mean? Oh no, Troy. That was when I was there. I'm in Muncie. I am not leaving Muncie. Muncie is my hometown. Screw Winchester. And Muncie's where it's at. That is how I feel about Muncie. I mean, I'm just saying Winchester had a chance to win me over, but they didn't. But Muncie is my community. And the thing is, I want people who want to be here. I don't care if you're from here or you're not from here. If you come here and want to be here, look, I'll be honest, riding hours, they're not from here, and they're not someone that I think will stay around. If riding hour loses, I think he's gone. And if riding hour wins and he does a couple more years and then he gets out, I think he's gone. Riding hour is not going to be in Muncie for the rest of his life.
The other thing I wanted to point out about that part where he's talking about Accutech and giving him $750,000 to redo the building.
Yeah.
Did they gut it? How big is this building? I mean,
It's
did
big.
they have to gut it?
Yeah.
Okay.
They had to do some big work. And
Okay.
I was talking to someone
But
today.
it brought 46 jobs. That's $16,000 a job he paid.
Yeah.
And it's the 10th fastest growing IT company in the country. They've got money, dude.
Yeah.
They didn't need the help.
Well, I was talking to someone today, and Dan takes a lot of heat for what he's done for Accutech. I think maybe getting them here because they were going to go to Yorktown, and Yorktown lost them. Yorktown screwed around and lost them, and big loss.
That's a damn shame for Yorktown.
Oh, I'm telling you. Yorktown really, really messed things up. It just blows me away. But I'm okay with what happened to Accutech at first. My problem is that we continue giving them money. What kills me about Mayor Dan is that he will do something.
Like 1.25 million that they've given Accutech.
Yeah.
In like 2 years' time.
We get someone here. They say, okay, we're coming. And then we're like, okay, well, we're going to still be giving you money and sweetening the pot. And I'm like, no. Once somebody is on their way and once someone's here, like, I get it if somebody's going to leave and you might have to maybe do something. But they're not going anywhere. They're here. Don't just keep throwing money at them.
Aren't they getting tax abatements too? There's the money.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you're saving a huge amount of money on property taxes. So reinvest that into what it is you're trying to do, whether that's buy a new property or redo the inside of something. I mean, you're growing and you're successful and you're doing great things here. So the companies need to be reinvesting in the community, not the community reinvesting in the company.
Yes. Troy, that's you're right on there, Troy. Yeah, you're right on. Okay.
I haven't seen anything that says that that's supposed to be repaid.
Oh no. The are you talking about the Accutech thing? No. That's all free and clear. All right, here we go. Forward ho.
Sorry to disturb.
No, you're fine. That's great.
Have to do. And you cannot give money to businesses. You can help pay infrastructure. It's against code. You can't give money to businesses, but you can help with infrastructure. And that's what we did. We helped with the infrastructure for Accutech.
Thank you. Again, sticking with you. What are your plans to invest in quality of life initiatives such as parks?
Well, I think I've shown what we're going to do with parks. In fact, one of my proudest moments is when we opened up the Cooley Park splash pad. The kids were playing, the parents were in the water, I was in the water, lots of us were in the water.
We were all in the water.
And what we did is we looked at these neighborhood parks like Cooley that had been abandoned for years. We made them ADA compliant. We put in walking paths, which is a great health component. We put in a new basketball court. We put in a splash pad. We made it a great neighborhood park that recently the Southside Neighborhood Association recently held another one of their annual meetings there. That's one of my proudest moments I was the most proud when that opened up. But we've also added splash pads to neighborhood parks in other areas of the city as well. I've invested, in fact, our city participation in parks has gone from 802,000 in 2017 to 1.2 million visitors.
Thank you.
In 2023.
Although we have,
can you repeat the question? Was this specifically about parks?
absolutely, or it doesn't have to be about parks. It's just any quality of life initiatives that you would like planned.
Sure. So obviously parks are vital to a city's infrastructure and quality of life. Right?
Yeah.
But what we first need to do is we need to be able to maintain what we currently have.
It's wild.
You know, my opponent is correct. He's added several splash pads at parks throughout the city, and those parks are in neighborhood parks, and that's a good thing. That is a good thing. But I would challenge you to drive around. Drive around and look at parks. In my district, Guthrie Park, which is just west of the hospital, every summer without fail, I need to call several times to get it mowed. Okay, and I don't blame the Parks Department. The Parks Department is stretched too thin. They are stretched too thin. We need to be focused on taking care of the existing inventory of parks that we have rather than growing parks.
Yeah.
Until those parks, and again, this goes back to putting Muncie first. This goes back to what I initially said. We have to take care of the basics before we look to grow. And currently, it's tough to keep up with what the current administration is trying to grow.
So we'll stick with you. Question that I have some bias, I guess, with.
Yeah.
How would you coordinate with Ball State for the betterment of Muncie?
Oh, well, near and dear to my heart too, Dr. Kinsella, because I'm a Ball State alum myself. You know, it is important, and we're very fortunate in the Muncie community to have President Mearns at the helm at Ball State. President Mearns has committed to becoming more involved and more of a part of our community. There's immersive learning that takes place where Ball State faculty and students go out into our community and do immersive learning projects with various nonprofits and other community organizations. We need to not only continue that, but we need to continue to foster that. We need to strengthen that relationship with Ball State. We absolutely have to, and it's about those students getting off of campus and exploring the city for what it is. Muncie is a beautiful place to live. The people of Muncie are among the greatest people in the state of Indiana and beyond. We need to encourage those students, and we need to work together with Ball State to find new ways to engage that student population as well as faculty and staff
Jackie,
to get off of campus and into our community.
It's time. Mayor Ridenour, same question.
That's a great
question. I've worked extensively with President Mearns. I meet with him on a monthly basis. We've collaborated on a number of projects, including the esports, and a committee that we were on with that. The Gamebridge Field renovation, that was brought to me by President Mearns due to our relationship. And that is 100% his idea, and it came from a Ball State graduate. But the city got behind it, and I'm appreciative of that. And it has been a beautiful field. We continue to work with Ball State on the Lilly Grant. This has now been submitted. But this is a program where cities and towns work together. It has to be a project that is outside of the Ball State campus. And I said to President Mearns, it has to be a project that is not in Ball State's hands. There has to be tax revenue for it. And we will love to participate. So President Mearns and I meet on a monthly basis as it is now.
Thank you. So again, we'll stay with you again. So thinking about the current YMCA property in downtown, what are the plans for using that particular property moving forward?
Well, they have adjusted a little bit because the Y is no longer occupying that property. They were going to keep it for a period of time until their construction was finished, but they adjusted that. We are planning on putting out an RFP. We weren't planning on doing that for a couple of years. I know what several local businesses and local business owners asked to do. And we have, in fact, I met with a developer today that's very involved, that is from the Fort Wayne area, that's very involved in some development in the Fort Wayne market. And that's one that they're looking at. Richard and I also had talked with somebody about that before Ball State had made their decision.
I didn't understand what he said there. That was a very weird thing. Talking to a developer from the Fort Wayne area that had some interest in doing some development in the Fort Wayne area? Well, why does he give a rip about Muncie? If he's from the Fort Wayne area and he's interested in doing development in the Fort Wayne area, it's going to move to Muncie, so he's going to drive up there to do it. He's in Fort Wayne. He's going to move to Muncie to then have to drive back to Fort Wayne. I don't get what he said there. He always tries to be so cloak and dagger with everything. And that's what I don't understand. The fact that it's just a developer to begin with. You know, Dan loves the word developer. When Dan hears developer, he thinks, oh, I can give lots of money to that guy. That's cool. All right? That's crazy. I think he's done stuff in Fort Wayne. He's looking to expand. I don't know. That was a really weird thing altogether. All right, here we go.
About an R&D company was interested, and they are one of those that actually liked the fact that it didn't have windows. Most people don't like that, but they liked it. So we've got all kinds of options. It's a great location downtown, and I'm very excited about what we will find for that property.
Thank you. Mr. Robinson.
Yeah. So number one, and again, look, I don't think the city needs to be involved in the real estate business. The city purchased the YMCA building downtown for $500,000. $500,000. Why couldn't we have purchased an option for a first right of refusal for far less than that if we truly wanted site control? We could have done that. I am somebody that thinks that, again, it's a complete waste of money. Okay, if it's such a desirable location in our downtown, which it is, it's a very desirable location in our downtown, right adjacent from Cannon Commons, close to the hotel. That's where we should let the free market determine what happens with that property, rather than spending $500,000 of taxpayer dollars without knowing what we're going to do with it. It's common sense.
Thank you. So again, we will stick with you again. And what ideas do you have to increase the homeowner-renter ratio in Muncie?
Well, that's difficult because again, that's market forces. That's beyond really most people's control. There are things certainly you can do to help. Something that we need to do is first and foremost work with the county to streamline and make it better when it comes to tax sales. You know, right now we have a number of California, Colorado, folks from all over the country that purchase these properties at tax sales. Why can't we try to figure out a way to work with the county to where we can have that option? Okay, so we can keep homeownership local, but as long as the system is set up that way, these out-of-town investors will purchase these properties, and they purchase them like a box of goods, sight unseen in a lot of instances, which is not only driving up rent costs, but driving down homeownership in our community. And we have to find a way to turn that around. And then for some of the reasons we mentioned earlier, providing assistance to first-time home buyers and beyond.
Thank you. Again, coming back to you, changing gears a little, or I'm sorry.
Yep. So this is not a difficult answer. The way you do that is through education. And the way you do that is by helping people understand how they become homeowners. A lot of people don't know the process. And I did that for years when I was at Mutual Bank and before that with other companies. It's not a difficult process, but you have to lead people through it. We can increase the amount of home ownership, and we will increase the amount of home ownership. That's why we've started working with the banks to come up with a program that does help with down payments, and buying properties off of tax sale tend to be properties that are in great disrepair, and that doesn't make it easy for first-time home buyers. And that's really where we need to get our foot in, is with the first-time home buyers. And so education will make it happen, and we can have more homeowners in Muncie. It's a very simple answer.
Thank you. And again, my apologies. We'll come right back to you. So anyway, what are your plans to address addiction in the community? Drug addiction.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we've done is we started a committee that started meeting all the interested parties inside that industry, the treatment industry, the addictions industry. We got together and they decided as a group that the crisis center was the best way to go. So we bought a building. It has been now renovated inside, so it's ready for construction. And in fact, I was just on the phone today with IU Health, who is going to run that facility, and that will help us in that area. It's only the first step, and we said that when we first started this. That is the first step. So we've got money set aside through the ARP, which my opponent did vote for as well. But that is one step. Other steps I'm running out of time. There are a lot of other steps, but that's the first step, and it will be coming. It looks like in March it should be ready to go.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Yeah, and not only did I vote for that $2 million for drug addiction at the ARP money, but I ushered that money through at the recommendation of Councilman Troy Ingram, who was very passionate about this process, of which I had asked the mayor to include Councilman Ingram in those discussions, and Councilman Ingram was unfortunately unceremoniously excluded from those conversations. But there are things we can do that don't require a lot of money. Number one, we need to destigmatize addiction in our community. Addiction is a disease. It is a brain disease. These folks don't choose to be addicts. They are suffering. And rather than poke fun, which I see on social media all the time, we need to be more empathetic and more caring to our neighbors who suffer. We also need to lean on existing local organizations like IU Health, Meridian Health Services, and others to enhance and expand the services they provide in this space.
Thank you. And again, coming back to you. What are your plans for continuing to work with nonprofits that cater to arts and culture in the city?
Well, that's easy. You know, I have spent my entire career, nearly my entire career, working in nonprofits in this community, so I've developed quite the network. Before my time in my current role as development director at Schaefer Leadership Academy,
Wait, Troy, what are you saying? What are you saying here, Troy? Let me know what you're saying there if you get a chance.
Spent 6 years working for Cornerstone Center for the Arts as their associate executive director for 4 of those 6 years. I understand the importance of the arts, and through the ARP process, I ushered in $500,000 for public art, some of which you may have already seen, particularly on South Walnut. There's some on Hoyt Avenue and in Dave's Alley downtown, and a lot more to come. The arts provide an identity for a community. They set us apart. They make us unique, the arts do. And Muncie has a robust arts collaboration and an arts infrastructure. We have great organizations, Civic Theater, among others, that are already working in this space. We need to be cultivating that and helping to expand that and usher that along.
Thank you, Mayor Ridner.
Yes, there is a committee that has been started, and it wasn't by me, but it was a committee started within the arts industry that is now meeting on a monthly basis, that is trying to help them coordinate together so that they can have better results for our community as well. The other thing that we do on the city's level, we do provide annual support to many of these organizations. We're about ready to pay for the new lift, elevator, ADA ramp, lift for Cornerstone. We have the Mayor's Arts Awards, which we continue to support, are coming up, and we continue to provide funding. And as I say, funding is an important piece. I will admit I'm not an artist. I can barely draw, other than I can play cello and piano, but I am not an artist. And so I don't try and pretend to be a part of that. I just try and help support it financially.
Thank you. And again, sticking with you, what are your plans as far as paving city streets moving forward?
Yeah, so we've done a couple of things. One of the things that we did, we realized in 2020 we weren't going to be able to pave. We knew that put us even further behind, but we also knew we wanted to do it right. So I hired a city engineer, and a city engineer, because they have that engineer seal, will not do things that maybe others might. So there's an education level and a responsibility there as a city engineer. We started paving in 21. We already could see that this wasn't going to go the full direction we wanted. So that's when we bought our.
Wait, the first city engineer, they were paying like $400,000 a year, and he didn't. I don't know what he knew. He was very bizarre. And then this new guy, man, I don't get it. I don't get what's up with this new guy.
Our own paving equipment. We trained our own crew, and they have now been paving across the city. In fact, if we get rid of this crew, they have now paved, 16 of them are done. 16, they're going to pave 20 streets, 20 neighborhood streets in challenged neighborhoods that would get missed.
I think Dan
that's what that paving crew is doing, and it's doing it at 60% of the cost, 60% savings over using contractors. It's not going to get rid of contractors. It's in addition to.
What?
Thank you. And again, Mr. Robinson, did I skip you again?
Yep,
Go ahead.
Okay. Yep. That's okay.
Bipartisan skipping?
Yeah, well, just yesterday, I announced my bold infrastructure plan. We have found anecdotally, by knocking on doors throughout this community, over 6,000 doors on folks' doorsteps, that paving and infrastructure is the #1 issue on the tops of minds of all of our citizens. So it's vitally important. My plan takes out a $25 million revenue bond, paid for with a primary pledge and edit funds, with a mix of local road and street, as well as wheel tax distributions, and backed up by consolidated TIF revenue. $20 million will go to paving roads, main roads. Under the current plan, we're seeing blocks at a time done inside neighborhoods.
Jackie,
in fact, one of the more egregious is a dead-end street with 4 houses on it we paved. We just paved, the mayor just paved a couple of weeks ago, a Northwest Side neighborhood, the entire neighborhood with 24 homes. This does not get us where we need to be. If we truly want to take the politics out of paving, we need to focus on the roads that every single one of us use, and my plan does that.
Thank you. So we'll come back to you again. Running short on time. I think we've got maybe time for about 2 more questions. So this one may be a little bit outside of the purview of what cities can do, but what plans could you put in place to help educational attainment in Muncie?
Well, that is a challenge. I'm a part of a post-secondary educational CAN, which is Community Activation Network, through the George and Frances Ball Foundation. The George and Frances Ball Foundation is addressing a number of issues in our community, but what we first need to do, and we're on the right track with Muncie Community Schools. Muncie Community Schools has been improving a great deal. Okay, but what we need to do in post-secondary education isn't just...
What we need to do is to get it back away from Ball State University. We need the school board needs to be voted on by the people, and we need to get control of what the hell is going on in our schools. Needs to be controlled by the parents and the school board, and not the university, and not the state, and not the city, and not Dan Ridenhour or Jeff Robinson or anyone else for that fact. It needs to be controlled by the people who are there, and their kids who will be going there, and the parents of the kids who will be going there, the teachers and the principals and those folks. But it needs to be out of the hands. I thank Ball State University for what they've done. They have now had it for too long, and it's time to end that partnership.
A university setting. It's skilled trades, it's Ivy Tech, it's other areas that we can be encouraging folks and lifting those folks up. We have to do that because our workforce dictates that we need to do that. Again, very difficult to do, especially in a community where you have the poverty level at 30% or over 30%. But we are working on ways, and the nonprofit organizations in this community are currently working in that space. We need to provide support while they lead that effort.
Thank you. Mayor Ridenhour.
So one of the things that I've done is I've been paying for some additional staffing at Muncie Community Schools out of the edit funds. I don't know that if everybody knows that or not, but Muncie Community Schools had a program. They didn't have enough funding. This was a few years ago. I committed to a multi-year assistance to them for that. And I'm very proud of that. And it probably would continue. I also serve on one of the CAN committees. I'm on the middle school math committee. And we're looking for ways to improve. Troy. And so there are lots of different people in different organizations who are all across the city attempting to make a difference. It is a long-term challenge. It's generational in that we're going to make a difference with kindergartners, but you're not going to see that for a long time. And that can be frustrating, but I know that there are people making a difference. And I feel like I'm one of those on the committee that I serve on, and I'm very, very happy to do that.
People making a difference.
Thank you. Again, so we'll go right back to you. Moving forward, do you plan to continue to have, perhaps, again, according to the question, maybe political opponents or people you may not totally agree with, be a part of an administration and meetings moving forward?
Absolutely. When I was,
he doesn't do that now. Why would he do that? I mean, hell, he doesn't even have people that he agrees with in meetings half the time.
When I was voted in as mayor in 2019, I started interviewing, and 4 of my 12 appointees were Democrat. 5 of them I did not even know before I had the interview. I intended to put people in to run it like a business. I intended and did put.
Who? Didn't name those people, Dan. Name those people. Let's talk about the people that you put in place, okay? You lost 14 department heads in the first year and in the first 17 months, you lost 14 department heads. 14 department heads in 17 months, big guy. You did not put the best people in place, period.
People into play who were skilled in their sets or had a passion for what they were doing. And so I will continue to do that. And I'm very proud of that fact. So yes, I will continue to work with anyone who will communicate back with me. I am 100% in favor of working together. Right. It's the only way we're going to get anything done as a community. And it's an easy thing to do. So yes, I will commit to that.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, my commitment is evident by what I've done the last 4 years on council. I will work with anyone who is willing to work together to solve issues that are most important in our community. Now, when it comes to department heads, I hear rumors all the time about who I'm putting as my police chief or who I'm putting as my building commissioner and so on and so forth. I can tell you right here today on the record, I have not made any of those decisions. It's probably hurt me politically because I've got fewer folks that are out there helping me to win this election. But you know what? It's the right thing to do because you want to put the right people in the right positions, no matter their political affiliation. I don't plan on asking anybody what their political affiliation is before I hire them. We need the right people doing the jobs. That's it.
Thank you very much. So we are about at time. So we're going to go ahead and move to closing statements. And so I guess in the tradition that we've been going, I guess, Mr. Robinson, would you like to go first with closing statements?
I'd assume that he would do since I did the opening statement.
That's fine. Okay, you go ahead with closing statements. Yes, please. 1 minute for closing statements.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. This has been very enjoyable, and I hope you got a lot of good information tonight. I will tell you that being mayor of Muncie is the honor of my life. I am so thrilled to have been able to serve thus far. And I will tell you, I do not want us to go back as a city. We have some momentum. We have opportunities. And it's very important that we don't go back as a community to what we had before. And I want to thank everybody for being here. And I'll also say for all of you, I ask for your vote on November 7th. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Yeah, so again, thank you all for being here. Thank you to the League of Women Voters, the Ball State Center, the Bowen Center at Ball State University, the Greater Muncie Chamber, WMUN for your support in executing this event this evening. Being on city council and serving my community, my hometown, has also been the thrill of my life. This is a responsibility that I take very seriously.
Right, darling.
And as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm doing this because I know we can do better. We can do better. And quite honestly, and I'm going to go off script a little here, I am tired of the veiled comments that say we can't go back. I know what that means. Okay? And I am not the Democrats of the past. This party is not the Democrat Party of the past. Each one of these candidates running on the ticket with me, myself included, are here to serve you. And I would encourage you to go to robinsonformuncie.com.
There you have it. That is tonight's Muncie mayoral debate. The two candidates have spoken, and that concludes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, right around here, and that was Steve Lindell. All right, so there you had it, ladies and gentlemen. There was the two candidates and what they had to say in a very canned type of way, 2-minute conversations. I really feel like you can't learn much from candidates that way. That's why I am hoping to do a more involved communication with them, more of a rolling type of a conversation. There will definitely be questions. We'll definitely pepper questions in there, but I want to be able to hear these people talk. I want to be able to hear these people communicate. And I want these people to be able to communicate. This is not a time for gotcha. This is not a time for me to bash Dan about specific plan here or there. I might ask tough questions about overall specific things that he's done as mayor. I might ask why I feel myself and others feels such a disconnect between what he campaigned on versus what we've seen in this last 4 years. But it's not a time for me to play gotcha politics. This is a time for me to ask questions and to have a conversation so that the voting population can hear what is making these political figures, what's making them up. So as I've stated, I have reached out and talked to people with the different teams kind of in back channels. Tomorrow, I will be formally filling out my email and sending to both teams, addressed to both of them privately, and we will be finding out about that. I'm telling you, I can only hope and pray that they both agree to it. I've got a feeling I know what's going to happen with them. We'll see what happens. I think that at this point in the game, to not interview or to not talk with people with any kind of a platform is a serious disservice and injustice to the voters, to anyone out there that is thinking about voting in November. And I would highly suggest everyone in the city of Muncie vote in November. There was a post that was put up today, and I don't know where it was posted to. Let me look here. Give me 1 second. Anyway, it where was this? I guess I don't know. I tried to find it. There was a post that talked about the number of people that voted in May, and you know, who is going to be voting by this November, who, you know, what the prediction is, and that we all need to get out there and vote. And I so wholeheartedly agree to that. But in order to vote, you have to be registered, and that is slowly, or it's not slowly anymore, it is quickly coming to an end. Voters registration, folks, is going to be over very soon. Kate's got this up. Voters registration ends for the 2023 general municipal election on Tuesday, October 10th at 11:59. In order to register, you must go to www.indianavoters.com. That is www.indianavoters.com, which is spelled out www.indianavoters.com. You can do that from the very device that you're watching me on right now. It takes 3 to 5 minutes for you to fill in the blanks and do what you got to do. You need to have your name, your date of birth, your address. You need to have your social security number, know your social security number, and or at least specifically know your driver's license or your state ID number. So please have that stuff ready, register, and get registered. If you voted in May and you've not moved, you do not need to register. If you voted last November, was there an election last year? Yeah. If you voted last year, you do not need to register if you've not moved. The only reason that you need to register is if you have never voted before, if you've changed your name, marriage or divorce, or if you have moved. If you've done any of those, you need to register. If you're not sure if you're registered, go to www.indianavoters.com and check. It's very easy. You can do it. You can do it as soon as this video ends. It will be easy to do that. If you do not register, by 11:59 on Tuesday, October 10th, you will not be voting in this next election, which will be coming up really quickly on the 7th of November. So, ladies and gentlemen, we've got, I just was starting to make a calendar the other day to tell you, but I'm going to count it up right now. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 8 weeks. 8 weeks before the election is here. It'll go like that. So get registered. We've only got 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks until voters registration is up. So 1 month basically until voters registration is up, 2 months until the election. There is no time to wait. Do not delay. Do it today. All right, you guys, what is tonight? Thursday? Woo, 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 woo. We're off tomorrow unless something stupid happens. Off Saturday unless something stupid happens. I am really going to do my best to not be on tomorrow or Saturday so I can get some shit done finally. You guys have a good day, a good weekend. Just because I'm not going to be here doesn't mean nobody's going to have content, because I'm going to be dropping some videos over the next couple days and stuff. So be looking out, folks. Love you all. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for sticking by and putting up with us. And I believe Jeff won that debate. All right, we'll be talking about it later. You guys take care. God bless. Have a good evening. We are out of here. Good. Bye. Bye. Eric Lewis, the only Lewis that we like on this channel.